kind of saving my money right now.
All right, 2.1, representing relations and functions. I cannot spell. Let's just not talk about that. You do not get cookie points for spelling because I am not an English teacher.
Just like no way.
All right, what are the different ways that we can represent a relation? Just say them.
You can do
Order pair.
You can do the graphic thingies.
A graph.
You could
Mapping diagram.
map them. You could
A
notate.
table.
A table.
You could f of x them with notation.
What did you say?
F of x. Okay.
All right, we also will have to at times list the domain and range. I'm going to tell you the key thing with this section is to follow all instructions. Inevitably, somebody always ignores the instructions and thinks that they can just do what they please, and then they get a 0 on that question because they didn't follow instructions. So make sure you read them all, do everything it says, don't try to shortcut it because I will take points off. So the first one say to identify the domain and range of the given relation, then represent the relation using a graph and a mapping diagram. So how many different things am I doing in these problems?
7, 4. A lot.
Well, if you're counting domain and range as 2 separate things, then 4. If you're doing that as one thing, then 3. Okay, so number 6, I have the order pairs -7, 4, 2, -5, 1, -2, and -3, 6. And I want to write these things in numerical order if possible. Just makes things easier and technically a little bit more correct. If you don't do that, then I don't really take off points. But the other thing, just really quick, this one doesn't have it. But if there's ever a repeated number, we don't write it twice. It only gets written one time. So that was probably in the notes, but in case it wasn't, just saying it again. Like if there were 2 x values of 2, then I would only write it one time.
Even if the y value is different?
Correct.
Then how would we know where to put it in if there isn't?
Group them across the table with the little circle things.
Like if you had a -7, 4 and then a -7, 300.
I'm going to do one so you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
All right, so first and foremost, domain and range. What are my domain values?
-7, -3.
Oh, I can't write.
1.
That's why you do.
Because you want it in order, right?
Oh, I thought you were just being extra.
Oh, I see. I get you.
What about range?
Yes. It's full,
-5.
-5, -2, 6, 4, 6.
You're not smart.
All right, so that's the first thing I have to have. The second thing said that I need to represent it using a graph.
Will we need graph paper for this section?
No.
Yay.
Nobody likes graph paper. What? I was doing the bronze ones yesterday.
That's nice. You do wrong. I'm not wrong. Wait, I was talking to you or Zach about that.
What? Squad? I don't remember. You just tell. You say everybody has one.
No, LeBron.
Oh yeah.
All right, so plot these points. I trust that we know how to plot points by this point in our lives.
No, man. Your mom times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124,
Europe. Greece.
So it should look something like this once you get them all on there. Key thing, do not connect the dots.
Aww.
You connect the dots, I mark it wrong.
It makes shapes.
I don't care. Make the shape in your head.
I don't think it makes me
Don't touch my ears.
If it makes a shape, what does this one make?
A triangle.
Quadrilateral.
There's 4 points.
Quadrilateral.
Well, that's
I
not
think that would be
triangle.
like a geometric shape. We just like a shape.
Ponder
I don't know. You should
Like
connect
what,
the
a
points
seahorse?
Ponder.
Yeah.
It could be.
You should connect
It's
the
all
points
about
to
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's a smiley.
Connect the points.
It could be a
They're
sword.
Please connect them.
It's a smiley.
Wait a
face.
second.
All right.
Not purple.
The last thing it wants is a mapping diagram. Okay, I'm going to tell you, key thing. The words that go here are input and output. Then we write the numbers down in order. They are the same as they are for the domain and range.
Eyes hurt.
We circle the numbers.
Then we connect them together. Just cheating with the ovals again.
You want to
Yeah.
I have more purple.
And I now connect the dots. Or the numbers, whatever. So they go with what they are matched with. And this is how I would know if something is repeated or not.
That is a lot of lines.
No. It's
That's
only.
quite used to.
It's only 4 lines on it. And they're actually line segments. My bad.
Because cross receiving.
It's just she drew
Just
she
some
drove
lines.
that in her head so much.
Just
No.
Line segments. She was like, "How do you describe a line?" No, that's a segment. I was like, "It makes sense."
Subway is not a change. Subway is the change.
Now, some people try to shortcut their work and not have to write as much, and this is what they do.
You have to write more.
And you know what I put?
0.
Follow instructions.
Oh. It's the same thing.
Don't do that.
So don't do the
Dude,
green.
why would you even write that? There's more letters in domain and range.
Yeah.
than there is in
I would have called it a
No, I mean they stack it on top. They don't do this.
Ah.
And they just do 2 of the steps. Some people also mislabel these and don't write input and output, and they write domain and range, and then they have forgotten their mapping diagram.
What a slow bum.
Hey,
So,
Mason is so funny.
when I say follow instructions, your work should look like this. And I'm saying this over and over again, and I am sure that one of you is still not going to do this.
Ryan.
Because it happens every year. I try. Every year I emphasize it. Over and over again. And it still happens.
You paying
If we
attention,
somehow
Ryan?
don't do that, can we get a
Maybe.
Well, she said maybe.
Guys,
The only time
everyone follow instructions.
the only time that I have had a class that actually everybody did it correctly was when I had a class of 3.
Wow.
Everybody do it correctly.
I'll leave.
This is like the odds of that are like the odds of you like everyone getting 100 on your vocab quiz and Miss Patton bringing you
Yeah,
food.
that's never gonna
Do we have to get the problem right, or do we just have to follow
I did
instructions?
terrible on this last one.
No, it's also got to be right.
Everybody just look at Charlotte or Daniel's
got
answers.
one wrong. The other version.
And then everyone gets a 0. Seems like a good option. All right, the next one say to tell whether the relation is a function or not. There are not a ton of those, so let's look at this one really fast. Would this relation have been a function in number 6?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't answer
Yes.
that. I need to see if it
Yes,
is.
it would.
Why?
Because you can put a line through it and it don't touch more than 1 point.
You mean vertical
Nothing
line
repeats.
test?
Yes.
They're never
I was like, I don't know which thing he's talking about. Yes.
Inputs
Okay.
now have more
No
than-
inputs are repeated. If there's a repeated input, it is not.
Can you ever repeat an output?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, but in the notes it said if an input has more than one output, it's not a function.
Well, that
Correct.
means that there's more than
That's what
one
we just
input.
said.
Shepard,
Like
inputs
3,
the
5,
X.
3, 2.
What is that?
So you don't have to do it on this question, although usually when it comes to the quiz, I will just have you do everything at once. So there's really 4 things you're looking for. And this would be to tell me that this is or is not a function.
That's a lot of
I'm
work.
just telling you, I kind of smushed that together on the quiz. So there's not just 3 things, there's really 4. That's why I say follow instructions. Yes.
What benefit does this bring us in real life?
Follow. It's so you know how to.
So you can get good grades in school.
So you can know how to follow directions.
So you know how to.
No one wants to know how to do that.
We don't make
So you can model changes in elevation.
So you can find.
What?
Is that what the book told you?
So you can find X and Y, Ryan.
It's good for
I don't
engineering.
care about elevation.
Use a function in real life. A diver using diver propulsion vehicle descends to a depth of 130 feet. The pressure P in atmospheres of the diver is given. So you can also do stuff with
That
diving.
doesn't make any sense.
It's
I
the
mean,
healthy.
also-
You mean you don't want to do all the word problems out of this section?
I had to do this for modeling.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
I read this thing that it said
Not like-
that smart people
like
have
clothes
it harder
model.
in
I
school
mean, like-
because they have it so easy
like-
that they don't learn how this.
You know, like CAD and stuff?
Yeah.
I have to do that.
No, you
Input
don't.
and output and all that stupid math stuff.
But it's so
It's
hard.
so
Remember how number 10?
I didn't do number 6. What? Input.
Alright, so this is what the problem statement gives you. Well, they also connect them. I'm going to connect them in a different color so it's easier to see.
Oh.
That's no bueno.
So is output always put in backwards numerical order?
No, that's just how they gave the problem.
That's
I always put them in order myself, but I'm just copying it out of the book. Now, I'm going to explain while you're writing this down the other reason that we don't write repeated numbers. If I wrote something as a repeated number, I'm not going to see, okay, that there's a problem, and I'm going to say that something's a function when it's really not. Because if I wrote -4 down here again, and another -1, and I went over here, I'm going to be tempted, okay, just disregard that arrow, right? I'm going to be tempted to say that this is a what?
A function.
When it's really not, because something was repeated. That's why we only write it once. Okay, so now, is this a function?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because each input has exactly one output.
Each input has.
You can do it.
I don't know what a function is. No, I need that password to help me smarter.
Will it help if I show you one that's not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright, this is what they give us.
Ow!
Just broke my elbow.
Because there's a -1 and a -1.
What?
And a 5.
Oh, that's not a function.
Not a function.
Because it doesn't look like the other ones.
Exactly.
We're so smart, guys.
It doesn't have as many numbers.
Each input has multiple outputs.
Wait, why does one go to one, number 2?
There's just multiple -1s. So,
Hey, miss.
We don't talk
So,
about that.
a key thing that you can also look for, if when you count the numbers up, there are more outputs than there are inputs, it's automatically not a function.
Yep. So why do we have to do all that?
This is what was given to you.
So we know it's not a function.
You could just
So
say
if your
it's not a
input
function.
said -1.
And to get all the points on the quiz and the test, that's why. Yes.
Well, I'm not. Try and shut up. I'm asking a question. If the input was -1, 2, -1, 5, that's not a function, right?
Correct, but you would never write it that way because we don't write things that are repeated.
Okay, good.
We would just draw 2 arrows from that -1.
Okay, thank you.
That's also why people tend to get confused because they don't listen and then they're like, they say everything's a function. I'm like, everything's not a function. And in case you haven't realized, I write function FNCT to abbreviate it. If you want to do that, that's fine. If not, also
Fin-
fine. Let's see, another one. This one's not in the book. I'm making this one up.
I can't do that.
It's called lying.
touching my bag. Oh, that's incorrect.
You mean incorrect? That's not a function.
Yeah, that's not a function.
It is a
It is a
function.
function.
Wait, hold up.
Because they're coming from different inputs.
For each input, there's exactly one output.
Yep.
Oh, they just have the same output.
Yes, outputs can be repeated, inputs cannot. So as long as there's only one line coming off of each input, we're good. So this is a function.
I knew that.
What do you call that comparing except for-
All right, tell whether the relation is a function. So you have to choose a method. I don't care which method you use, but you have to choose a method and show why or why not for each thing. So 18, they give us the ordered pairs 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, 3, 3, 2, 4, 4.
Just so I'm following instructions, what were the instructions that I'm following?
Tell whether the relation is a function and explain. So the
Yes.
explain part means show one of the options that we've done up here. Okay, aka choose option 1 through 3 to show that it is or is not. I usually do a mapping diagram because you can see it better, and I don't really want to graph if I don't have to, but that's up to you. What method do y'all want to use?
Domain and
use
range.
the domain and range.
The one with the circles, so Charlotte's one.
Input output.
Okay.
Brian, do you think if we had like really locked in and tried in school, we would have like a
No.
range on this?
Yes.
So input is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Output is the same thing, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Whoa, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's just going crooked. I don't know what's happening. It's just going to be crooked. Just bear with it. All right. 0 goes to 1. 1 goes to 0. 2 goes to 3. 3 goes to 2. And 4 goes to 4. So is this a function or not?
Yes.
Because X does not repeat. No,
Yes.
Y does not. Shepherd, it's X. Wait, so input is X?
Yes.
I feel like we've gone over this.
Yes.
Then it's
Input.
like-
It's-
Input
Wait,
and
give us the,
domain
like,
are X.
wait.
Output and
Y.
range are Y.
Okay, so Y.
You never knew.
Alphabetical order.
Y is in the output. Okay, I got it.
You never do this? And Y becomes after D and Z. I mean, D after D in the alphabet.
So does X.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the domain for a D. Domain is X. I know, but domain is
All right, the one we really haven't talked about yet, I mean, we kind of had it up here when we did the plotting the points, but is the vertical line test. So when I do that, I take my pencil, I start here, and I go across. If at any point there are 2 dots intersecting my pencil at the same time, it is not a function.
If you have
You're
a
just
really,
like really bad at.
or you have a really
dots.
thick pencil, you can cover both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Then I would suggest you get a smaller pencil. 22. Use the vertical line test to tell whether the relation is a function.
Mine just said it's not drawing.
I'm colorblind. That's a function.
No.
Yes, it is. Nope.
No.
So, is this a function?
No.
Wait, I've never learned that function.
Yes.
Wait, yes.
Yes.
See?
Yes, it
Everybody
is a
just said no,
function.
but I'm smart, and I knew the answer.
Cubic equation.
Ryan, you shouldn't
Good
lie
job,
in
Ryan. We're
this
so
class.
proud
Cube
of
root.
you.
Cube root.
Ryan, you really shouldn't be lying in this class.
I just got it right. You got it
Why
right.
is your thumb fingernails?
That's because I just.
I don't know. Look, I heard it. That's why it's brown.
You know why mine's brown?
Oh, it's brown.
That is not what. It doesn't even say anything.
No.
It's not
How about this?
No.
No, it's
No.
a word.
No, because
It says
at
ooh.
basically every point I have 2 values, so not a function.
That actually says something. Yours just says ulu.
What about
That's not a function. That circle thing.
We know.
Oh. Where'd the line go?
Upstairs.
What?
That is not.
That is not a function. So what
type
if you
of-
were to have? Is there such
what
thing?
type of
Can we just do
equation is
this
that?
for the next 3 weeks?
What type of equation is that?
I don't know.
Can this be our homework? So.
Well, your
If-
homework is out of this
If
section.
you had like a 3D graph where it's like that way and this way, you had a dot here, and you had a dot here, and then a dot like.
Okay, we're dealing with 2-dimensional, not 3-dimensional.
So none of
This is
stuff
not a
works for
3D class, this is a 2D class.
You live in 3D though.
I
You
mean,
really live in 4D.
40.
What's the 4th dimension?
Inside the ins.
Einstein said that the fourth dimension is defined.
I.
Do they do that in letters?
Okay.
Here's a point, and then here's a point. You can go from this point to this point.
Nope, that's the wrong problem. Tell whether the function is linear. What does that mean?
If it makes a line.
Thank you. I have a bunch of classes that have not understood what the word linear meant, and it drives me crazy.
It says line.
Linear.
See, that's what my brain says. Like, it very clearly says line, but
What class is that?
every year I'm like, tell me if this is linear or not. And it's like a parabola, and they're like, yeah, it's linear. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Parabola.
It's fine. My little rant for the moment.
Yes.
You couldn't.
All right, 34. Okay, it says also evaluate the function for x. So 34, we have f of x, which also can be y. Okay, some people get confused about that also. Equals x plus 15, and the number that we're going to plug in is 8, so f of 8. It's what they gave us. Okay, so first and foremost, is this a line?
Yes.
Yes.
Should be.
Yes. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
It graphs a line. You do not have to graph it if you're struggling to know what a line is. I would recommend you graph it. Just going to throw that out there. So, this is linear.
Shepherd.
Put it on a graph.
Shepherd, that's basically.
You don't know how to graph a line?
Go one, one,
He
one,
knows.
one, one.
He just has to rejog his memory.
He's a little special sometimes.
Where it
He's not
intersects the
special,
line
he's
and
Yes, he is.
He's
so
unique.
Up how many it tells you to. Are you okay?
Shepherd, you.
I think Trevor needs to take a walk.
Just like how God made you.
We learned about triangles later.
Triangles are
sorry,
no
Shepherd.
third quarter.
Is it possible to
Please,
fill
I think
your
I've learned better.
PDFs?
That sort of worked.
That's wrong.
Okay, so 15 is where it intersects the
Wrong.
y-intercept. And then,
What
how
the
do you
heck?
know what the slope is?
How many line thingies are there?
Slope is 1.
Slope is 1.
One? Okay,
Lines go
so
off forever,
Up
Mason.
one, right one for the rise.
Exactly. Oh my
And
God.
then the
15
f of 8,
lines.
would that be 8 equals 1x? Or would it be f of x equals 8 plus 15?
So, whatever is in the parentheses is what gets plugged in for x. So, f of 8 is 8 plus 15, which is
Huh?
23.
F equals,
23, yeah.
okay, so if you were to substitute f of x for y.
f of x is y.
Yes.
Same thing.
So if you had y equals x plus 15, how would you put the 8? Would it be y and x equal 8?
No. You just plug it in for x. Yes.
So if f of x is y, why don't we just write y?
Because this is function notation.
But it's the same thing.
It's function notation.
Why are you grabbing me?
It's function
That was
notation.
unnecessary.
Function notation.
Okay, next problem. 36. F of x equals the absolute value of x plus 10. We're also plugging in f of negative 4.
Oh
Is this linear?
no. No. Wait, yes.
Yeah, because absolute value can go up and down, so it
Yes.
isn't a function.
I didn't ask if it's a function. I asked if it's
Yeah.
linear.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes. You got it.
What does an absolute value graph look like?
I have no
I don't
clue.
know.
I don't remember.
Is this a line?
Yes.
No.
No, it's a V.
It's
Mason just said yes.
I mean,
It is not linear.
Actually, it's 2 lines.
The only way for something to be linear is if it looks like this.
Y equals
Oh, hold on,
x
can
plus
you grab
15.
that one for us,
Yeah.
though?
Yes.
Yes.
Doesn't the absolute value of negative 4 just turn into 4?
Right, so then it would just go like.
Oh, but then if it's
But
a
we're
different
disregarding this for the moment. That's just like a plug-in after.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Yeah, the first part, that's why I'm like, sometimes I don't even write this right away, but then I would end up forgetting about it. So an absolute value graph, the base graph would be basically, it's 2 lines, but they're connected to make a V. The plus 10 says bring it up to, I'm just going to call that 10, and it shifted up 10, and it's up here. If the plus 10 was inside, it would move it to the left.
Okay. No, it makes sense after I see it.
So yes, this would be my absolute value graph that is here.
So why would it not go down? Because couldn't
Outside the absolute value or
absolute-
parentheses, it goes the same direction, which is up and down. Inside, so like if it was x plus 10 inside the thing, it would move left. It goes opposite the direction of the sign. Yes.
Shepherd. Shepherd.
I wasn't sure if you called
I-
it yet.
I said yes, and then you were not
So
paying
can you
attention.
write one out,
Oh,
but instead
I
of
see.
using f of x, use y? Because I like my brain's not braining right now. Can you just write one instead of y? Y equals
I don't like F.
Well, you better get used to it, because for the rest of math, we're using f of x.
There's 3 equal signs. Can't make me.
Yes, I'm trying to show you what it's equal to. I'm trying to show you that they're the same thing.
Okay,
No.
y is f of x, is f of 4, is 4.
I am plugging in -4 for x.
Write it as y on your own paper.
So y equals.
What's the absolute value of -4?
4.
4 plus 10 is?
14.
14.
So I can
So that makes
f of
sense.
x
When
equals
y equals -4, it's 14. But even when y is 4, it's still 14. So it can't go below. Because it's absolute value.
So is that a function after you plug in 4?
Yes, because, well, the function would be occurring before I plug in the number. Because every time I go, like, as I go across, there's, ignore the red one, because that's just the base. This is just y equals the absolute value of x. So this one is the shifted one, so I'm just looking at the blue one. There's only one intersection point all the way across, so it is a function.
Then what are we plugging into 4?
Just because it says to plug in a number.
Okay.
They just want you to do extra work.
So we have a dictatorship school.
You don't actually have to graph these. It's just asking you to say if it's linear or not. Y'all are just like, I want to see the graphs. I'm like, okay.
Math is a dictatorship.
All right. This one, 38, our last one. G of x, now I'm really going to throw him for a loop, equals,
There's 24 more letters to go through, guys. That's not gonna make it through math.
no, we don't use all of them. Some letters represent numbers and some letters are
What?
variables.
I saw that the sideways C is sigma on a supply box from Amazon Basics.
Sideways C?
E.
Oh, I thought you said C. I was like, that means subset
I
of.
heard C as well.
Wait, no, that's a regular E.
Okay, x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x minus 8, and we're plugging in 5, so g of -5. He's going to be real confused when we get to inverses. And it gives it like this, and the instructions say swap x and y.
So G is the same thing as F?
Yes.
Okay.
I can use M, I can use N, I can use S, I can use T,
I thought
can
F-
use W.
I thought F stood for a function.
That is my face.
It can.
Okay.
I mean, all of these are functions of, essentially. Typically, this book uses F and G pretty exclusively. However, every book after this will use any letter under the sun that it feels like.
So this this is linear, right?
Like in school.
I don't know. I'm waiting for y'all to tell me.
Yeah.
It's not linear.
Is it linear?
Yes.
No, because there's an x cubed.
Yeah, and it's
Squared.
If there's anything more than an X, it cannot be linear.
So it just has to be a plain X.
Like X by itself with a number. If I took away this part, it would be linear.
Okay.
This graph, because I'm sure y'all are just so
No.
curious at
Yeah.
this point.
It really
Now, this graph has a lot happening, so I'm just going to give you the base x cubed graph and just take my word for it at this point, because graphing this by hand would be a pain. Base x cubed graph looks like this. Not that.
That's what it would look like.
That's a function.
No.
Yes, it is.
So it is not linear, because it's not a line.
Too many X's.
It is a function,
Told you.
because going across, I know it looks like it just goes straight up right there, but they're all like shifted over a little bit.
Okay, so can you substitute for maybe
That's what I'm about to do. That would be the next step.
Well, it's X becomes -5. G is still G.
Yeah, G is still G. Well, G is Y, and X is -5.
Shepherd, you got it.
Can you post these notes afterwards? Because I feel like I'm going to want to go back and watch this again.
yeah.
Now this makes me not want to go back and listen to it.
Well,
Alright, so we plug in. Make sure you put parentheses around what you're plugging in because I'm plugging in a negative number and I don't want to get confused about my signs. What is negative 5 cubed?
125. Negative 125.
Negative 125.
May I grab some water?
You just know that off the top of your
I'm
head.
gonna be done in like 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm already done.
Okay.
Liar.
What is negative 5 squared?
Negative 5 here is 25.
Times negative 2.
Negative 50.
5 times negative 5.
Negative 25.
Minus 8. Alright. Negative 125 minus 50 minus 25 minus 8 is?
208? Negative
No.
208?
Yep, negative 208.
We're adding.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh.
Okay, any questions that are not y is g at, like y and stuff like that?
Why is my brain not working?
A lot of letters. You're gonna notice that the farther on we get, the less numbers there are and the more letters there
Yeah,
are.
but that's kind of stupid.
Yay.
I miss when math had numbers. That's what math is supposed to be.
So-
Yeah.
Sometime I will show you my college math.
Letters are
There were
English.
more numbers, or sorry, more letters than numbers.
That's what my friend said.
Alright, your problems are
6 letters.
5, 11, 17, 21, and 35. And make sure you have 2.2 notes for tomorrow.